Hello there guys, it's Michael here and welcome to my first formal video of 2023. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I thought I would kick things off with a bang and discuss one of the most difficult topics that there is for guitar players, and that is modes. Now in my 12 years of teaching guitar, and it's going to be 13 years in August, modes is the most difficult topic for most people to understand. I've never had so many people cry in any other topic as what they do when it comes to modes. Now, they can be really confusing. They can also be really easy. Now, the reason why is because there's actually two rules happening at once when we talk about modes. Once you understand that modes can be thought of as horizontally or relative, as well as another rule where we can think of them vertically or derivative, then things will hopefully start to make more sense. So in about 2 weeks from now, in my hometown of Melbourne, I'm putting on a special guitar bootcamp weekend with intermediate and advanced players. What we're going to be covering in that bootcamp is fretboard mastery, in particular, how to learn and master your modes. Now, I'm not trying to use this video to sell tickets to that event, but before I recorded this video, I recorded some of the pre-training modules to that course and thought, wow, I've got all this awesome information. I'm going to take a couple of gems of knowledge and put them into a video for YouTube. So we're about to segue into that video, and that's going to have basically a splice up of some important topics to help you finally understand and make sense of modes. So have some fun, make sure you like this video and subscribe if you find it helpful, and we'll see you in the next video. Hello there guys, and welcome to week number 3 for our fretboard mastery workshop pre-training module. In this week's training, we're going to look at the major scale and its modes. We're doing this one relatively early on because it's going to be really important that you memorize your major scale modal shapes so we can get the most out of them in the upcoming workshop. Now, some of the concepts here may be tricky. Modes are often a very difficult topic. However, we're simply taking what we learned about the pentatonic shapes in the previous week of training and applying the same concept of however many notes are our scales and each individual note becoming its own starting point for a new mode, a new version of that scale, which we're just going to apply to our 7-note major scale instead of our 5-note pentatonic scale. So if you haven't done week number 1 or week number 2, go back and cover those modules and we can dive into week number 3. So before we talk about the modes of the major scale, we need to actually learn the major scale. So if we just take the notes of the C major scale, which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, then what happens is that gives us our major scale. And the major scale formula, remember we talked about tones and semitones last week, the major scale has a tone between the first note, C and D, so we start on a C and we go up a tone to D, a tone to E, a semitone to F, a tone to G, a tone to A, a tone to B, a semitone to C. So that's the major scale formula. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That's the one that we need to work out and basically write it down, figure it out, memorize it, whatever you need to do. Now, if I start on any C note and I go up a tone, up a tone, up a semitone, up a tone, up a tone, up a tone, up a semitone, this C note, we've already done that one. If I come down this C note, it's always going to sound like the C major scale because we're following the major scale formula, the major scale recipe. If I go to a G note, for example, and I follow the same formula, then I get the G major scale. G, a tone to A, a tone to B, a semitone to C, a tone to D, a tone to E, a tone to F sharp, not F, and then a semitone to G. There is always a semitone between the 3rd and 4th note and the 7th and 8th note in a major scale. Keep that in mind because that is what the formula is. So now that we know the major scale, we can talk about the modes of the major scale. So for example, if I play from C through to C, I'm playing C major. But there are 7 individual notes of that major scale. So if I start on the 2nd note and then play from the 2nd note, that is the 2nd mode of the major scale. It is the same 7 notes. We're just starting on a different note and going through the same sequence. Now what this does, it causes a change in the intervallic pattern from the starting point. In the grand scheme of things, the sequence is the same, but the starting point changes, therefore the intervals that we hear change. And same thing, if I go to the 3rd note, which is E, if I play from C to C, backing up to the start, that is C major. If I play from D through to D, using all the same natural notes, that's called D Dorian. If I start on the E, it's called E Phrygian, and then there's F Lydian. Now I'm going to go to the first string so we don't run out or go too high up on the fretboard. F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. G Mixolydian, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A Aeolian, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And the last one, B Locrian, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now they kind of all sound bright and happy. They all sound like they're C major. So if I play a C chord and I play C major, it's bright and happy and it matches. If I play C major again and I play D Dorian, it sounds kind of the same. It's still bright, it's still happy. There's something different about it we can't quite put our finger on. However, it's still very much the same. However, if I go and play a D minor chord and then play D minor, D Dorian I should say, we can hear a very, very different sound, and that's because by playing the D minor chord, we are now hearing D Dorian in the context of D as being the root note, so it gives it a very different sound. Why people get confused about modes is because there are two rules happening at once. There are relative modes, so if I say this is C major, that's relative to D Dorian, E Phrygian, and so on and so forth. They're all the same scale, they're all the same parent mode. They're just different orders of the same sequence of notes. However, if I take the individual scale patterns, for example Dorian, we know the major was tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. The Dorian pattern has a different interval structure. So if I go D, a tone to E, semitone to F, instead of going tone, tone, semitone, we've gone tone, semitone straight away. And that's why we hear it as a more of a minor sound, because it has the minor third pretty much up front. So the Dorian, I'll start again. We've got the D note, we go up a tone to E, a semitone to F, up a tone to G, up a tone to A, up a tone to B, a semitone to C, and a tone to D. So once again, instead of having a semitone at 3 and 4, 7 and 8, we've got the semitones at 2 and 3 and 6 and 7. And that's why we hear it differently. And if I went through C Ionian, C Dorian, C Phrygian, C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, I write out the notes in order. However, then I go and analyze the intervallic structure. That's going to give you the formula of each individual mode, which can then be used to work out the derivative modes or the vertical modes. So if I play C major, it sounds bright and happy. Now if I play C Dorian over a C minor chord, it sounds very different. I can go and now play C Lydian, which is another major-y sounding one. Sounds different again. And if I play C Aeolian, the minor scale, it sounds different once again. So this is where people are confused. C major, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, B Locrian, they're all from the same parent mode. They're going to be the same 7 notes in their same order. The only difference is we start on a different note and we finish on whichever note we started on. Now if we take a look and map out from the D to the D or the E to the E, the intervallic structure is going to be different. And then if we take that intervallic structure and play each of those scales starting from the same root note, it could be C, it could be F, it doesn't matter what it is, we are going to get C Ionian, C Dorian, C Phrygian, and they're going to sound vastly different to each other. So that's an explanation of modes. As long as we remember that first we need to work out the major scale, and then from there we can figure out the relative modes. And a good acronym that I like to put forward, something my music teacher taught me in year 9, maybe year 10, I can't remember, but I remember it to this day every time I go to teach modes, is this silly little saying, I don't particularly like my armpits licked. Now, say that one more time. I don't particularly like my armpits licked. I for Ionian, D for Dorian, P for Phrygian, L for Lydian, M for Mixolydian, A for Aeolian, and then B for Locrian. I should say not B for Locrian, L for Locrian. You got me on a bad one there, guys, but they're the modes: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, and then it goes back to Ionian an octave higher. So I don't particularly like my armpits licked. If you memorize that silly little saying, you will know the first letter of each mode and you'll be able to figure it out. Now in this video, I'm going to take you through the major scale as a vertical pattern, as well as the other 6 shapes that make up the major scale modes. In the video following this, I'm going to jump on the computer again and guide you through the whole process like we did last week with our pentatonics and show you how you can construct these 7 different shapes here. But for now, it's important to learn the major scale. Now, if you've learned a previous major scale shape that's different to this one, fantastic. We're going to learn this special one for the workshop. I don't want to be mean and nasty about the other ones not being usable or anything like that, but the one that I'm about to teach you is going to be the best major scale shape you can use, and it's going to integrate with our whole 3-note per string system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play C major on string number 6. Actually, I'll play it first and I'll guide you through it. So I'm going to play the first octave, the full 2 octaves, and then I can complete the entire shape. So all the notes on string number 1 are basically going into the 3rd octave there. Not necessary, but if we visualize a fretboard, it's going to give us more notes to play when we come to soloing and improvising. So I'm starting at the C major. You know what, guys? I'm going to change it up. We're going to do it in the key of G, simply because we'll be able to fit more notes in on the fretboard. So let's go down to fret number 3. I'll do those demonstrations one more time. That's my first octave. That's my 2 octave vertical 3-note per string major scale shape. And if I add frets 5, 7, 8 on top, then that's basically going into the 3rd octave there, not necessarily part of the scale. It's going to be 100% usable, but if you are soloing or improvising, we are going to go past that and use all the notes under our fingers. So it's important to know the whole 6-string vertical shape. So if I talk you through that one, on string number 6, we've got 3, 5, 7. On string number 5, 3, 5, 7. String number 4, 4, 5, 7. Same thing on string number 3, 4, 5, 7. And then 5, 7, 8 on string number 2. And then if we add that same thing on string number 1, it's 5, 7, 8 again. Now just quickly, if it's a 5-fret stretch, I will use my first finger on the lowest number. In all instances with our major scale in these modes, I'm always going to use my first finger on the lowest fret, my pinky on the highest fret, and either my 2nd or 3rd finger in the middle. If it's a 5-fret stretch, 3, 5, 7, I'm going to use my first, my middle, and my pinky so that I have a much easier time stretching between my middle and pinky. When I get to string 4 and 3, it's going to be 1st, 2nd, pinky. That's going to be our green pattern. The first one's our red pattern. The second one's our green pattern, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. And the 3rd pattern is the blue pattern, which is 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. So whenever it's 4 frets, basically put whichever finger lines up with whatever fret. Don't stretch across more than 1 fret. The only exception is when we have a 5-fret stretch, 3 to 7, there's obviously 3 frets in between. Then what we need to do is use our 2nd finger in the middle. So that is the G Ionian shape, or the G major. Ionian and major are interchangeable. They're the same scale. So the G major scale has the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And just like we played across a single string, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, that means the first mode starts on the G note, but the 2nd mode starts on the A note. So this is going to be the Dorian shape of G Ionian. We're still playing in the key of G. We're just making a focus of the Dorian pattern, which starts on A. So I'm going to play A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. So the first octave, 2 octaves, and if I add the extra notes on top, I've got a B, C, and D there. So all together, so that's 5, 7, 8 on string 6, 5, 7, 9 on string 5, same thing, 5, 7, 9 on string 4, 5, 7, 9 on string 3, 7, 8, 10 on string number 2, 7, 8, 10 on string number 1. And there is your A Dorian. So we started the Ionian on the G note, the Dorian on the A note, and now we're up to the Phrygian on the B note here. So I'm going to go 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9. That's the first octave. Now the second octave. Whoops. And then if I add the exact same pattern on top, 8, 10, 12, that's going to complete the whole shape there. So all up, that was 7, 8, 10 on string number 6, 7, 9, 10 on string number 5, 7, 9, 10 on string number 4, 7, 9, 11 on string number 3, and then 8, 10, 12 on string number 2 and string number 1. So there is B Phrygian. Now we've done G Ionian, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian. So this one's going to go like this. That's 1 octave, 2 octaves. And then adding the first string on top as well. So that's a really, really nice sounding scale shape there. On string number 6, it was 8, 10, 12. On string number 5, it is 9, 10, 12. String number 4 is also 9, 10, 12. String number 3 is 9, 11, 12. Then string number 2, 10, 12, 13. And string number 1, 10, 12, 14. That is your Lydian shape. By the way, guys, you should be drawing these boxes down. And of course, in the next video, we will show you how you can map them out and plot them out and visualize them. But that's essentially what we're doing right here. It pays to take notes ahead of time. But that's going to bring us to the Mixolydian. So I've got D Mixolydian. So I'm up on the D note, and this is probably one of the easier shapes to do because it's the same thing 3 times in a row. So I'm going to go. That is my first octave, my 2 octave shape. And my third shape, or using all 6 strings. There we go, there is my D Mixolydian right there. Now breaking it down, I've got 10, 12 and 14 on the first 3 strings of this scale. So 6, 5 and 4 is going to be 10, 12, 14, 10, 12, 14, 10, 12, 14. String number 3 is 11, 12, 14. String number 2 is 12, 13, 15. And string number 1 is 12, 14, 15. There we go. All of a sudden, I'm putting it together and I've got the Mixolydian scale. So that's 5 out of 7. We've got 2 to go. E Aeolian. Now this one's going to be tricky. If you're on an acoustic, you may have to drop down to the open string. I will show you both ways. So this Aeolian, so mode number 6 is the same as our natural minor scale. The relative minor of G is E minor, G, A, B, C, D, E. E up at fret number 12, and the first octave is going to be. And once again, if you already know a minor scale shape, if it's different to this one, don't throw it out the window, just put it on the shelf for now. You can come back to using that later. But once again, this one's going to be the best one to use that integrates with everything you learn at the workshop. So that's your 1 octave pattern there. There's your 2 octave pattern. And there you go, you've got the entire shape there. So on fret number 12, that's our starting point, string number 6, 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 16, 12, 14, 16, 13, 15, 17, and then of course 14, 15, 17. That's our E Aeolian scale, or E natural minor. You can do an octave lower. And then away you go. Now, speaking of an octave lower, we're going to start the Locrian scale from the F sharp note, preceding our G there. So you put your first finger on F sharp. There's our Locrian mode first octave. There's the 2 octave pattern, and then the full 3 note per string scale. And little thing to point out, whenever you do those 3 note per string scales, whatever fret your first finger or your last finger, pinky finger finishes on, generally right below that is going to be the root note you started on. So just not always the case. There's going to be an exception in 1 or 2 of the shapes, but something that's important to know there. And of course, then we're back to the start. We could have done the Locrian up here at fret number 14 as well. and then we can once again do the major scale, the Ionian, an octave higher, and keep on going till we run out of frets. But there you go, guys, you have all 7 of those shapes, and the basic thing that you should do is plot them out in the key of either C first and then the key of G. So basically you write the C major scale, then you find the C note, play Ionian, the D note, find the Dorian, E note, Phrygian, etc. Then you practice zigzagging, so you can play up C, down the Dorian, up the F, up the E, sorry, E Phrygian, then you go up the F Lydian. And then you keep going till you run out of room, and then you drop an octave lower. So you should definitely learn and practice these in the key of C major, simply because the natural notes will make it easier. Then you should also do it in the key of G major. Now, the first time I learned these modes, I learned them in the key of G major. So that's what I recommend generally, because you've got your starting point down at fret number 3. You could even do F major. It's not going to be the end of the world. In fact, the more keys you do it in, the better. But you need to learn each of these individual patterns relatively. So C Ionian is there, and then D Dorian is there. Now, this isn't something that I want you to do right now, this final exercise that I give you, but if you do want to hear the modes separately, record yourself just playing a C note or whatever. Go to YouTube and type in C drone. When you want to get good at this shape, you need to be able to play C Ionian. Then you play C Dorian from the same starting point. Then you play C Phrygian from the same starting point. And you go through each of those 7 shapes, all from the same starting point. And that is what's going to help you hear the different sounds or the different flavors of the mode. But to do that, of course, you need to be really, really familiar with the shapes. So rewatch this video as many times as you need to make sense of whatever topic we covered there. And of course, once you get the hang of the key of C Ionian and the relative modes, try it out in G. Once you get the hang of G, if you hadn't already started with G, which is probably what I recommend over C, then do it in the key of G and potentially even F. A and E are really good to do as well, because as a guitar player, once again, you're going to be playing in those keys quite a lot, but you don't have to do all 12 keys unless you have nothing better to do and you have that burning desire to be the world's greatest guitar player, then go for it. But basically, play your way through the modes, zigzagging through the patterns, and once you get the hang of that, you can try playing all 7 shapes from the same starting point.